trained in the truth. I bang in the booth, drop the top on the coupe and let the rain in the roof.
Yeah, neighborhood Nip Hustle. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. Spotter Low, y'all already know what it is. Source that. Neighborhood Nip Hustle. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
All that and then some to the income. Hit the YouTube streets, find a corner and bend one, and end up at a man sentenced to death. Now, we all got to go. We know that. That's one thing. But to know you got to go at a certain date and time, couldn't imagine preparing for that. That is a very, very sobering idea. I've seen other videos about it, but this is a countdown to one man's fate with the death penalty. These are his last moments alive. Stephen Lawrence, I believe that's his name. How you say his name? Stephen Lewayne Nelson. With no further ado, let's see what this executed inmate had been up to.
It's hard at times, because you're waiting to be put to death. So that kind of breaks a little part of you every day. Kind of breaks you every day. And sometimes I have to catch myself, for being overwhelmed and stressed out, and like force myself to eat because it does that to you where you just don't want to do nothing. As her being a witness of my execution, it's up to her, but I really don't want her to see that, me getting pumped full of drugs and being overdosed with drugs to kill me, to make my heart stop. I think that would leave a bad impression, that will override the good memories we had over the years. She'll always close her eyes and see that.
How does a man feel knowing he'll never again see the outside world? For most people, that thought alone would crush them. But Stephen Nelson didn't seem to care. He wasn't the kind of inmate who stayed quiet, kept his head down, or tried to do his time. Even behind bars, he was dangerous. Nelson was already locked up for murdering a pastor in Arlington, Texas. But he went ahead and killed another inmate in.
And why he killed a pastor? Cold near.
Inside jail. Witnesses recalled Nelson laughing afterward, then pretended to play air guitar over the man's body. In this video, we'll take you through Stephen Nelson's final 24 hours and the brutal path that led him to the death chamber. Welcome to True Crime Cover, where we dive into real crime cases, uncover the facts, and explore the truth behind every story. Kindly hit that like button and subscribe to support the community. It all started on March 3, 2011, at North Point Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas. That Thursday morning was quiet. Inside the church, 28-year-old Pastor Clint Dobson sat at his desk. He was soft-spoken, thoughtful, and the kind of man who remembered your name and really meant it when he asked how you were doing. Across the room, 69-year-old church secretary Judy Elliott typed away at her desk. She was faithful, kind, and known for never missing a day of work. Neither of them knew what was about to happen. That morning, 24-year-old Stephen Nelson walked through the church doors. But he wasn't there to pray. He was there to rob. What happened next was brutal and fast. Pastor Clint was attacked first. Investigators believe Nelson hit him in the head with a computer stand. Clint fought back, trying to survive, but Nelson overpowered him.
In my robbing days, because of my familiarity with the church, I used to always be tempted to hit that kind of lick. And I used to always try to justify it in my mind, like, well, I wouldn't rob no church like my church. I'll rob one of them churches that ain't preaching the truth. However, I can announce my scruples, my conscience would never allow me to move forward on nothing like that. And I done some cold in my younger days. But right now, at this more seasoned age, I'm so glad I could say I never stooped that low. Oh, my mama.
He wrapped a computer cord around Clint's neck, strangled him, and then smothered him with a plastic bag until he stopped breathing. Judy was next. Nelson beat her so badly she had bleeding in her brain, broken bones across her face, arms, legs, and back. Her
Boy, he ain't know he in Texas did that to some white folks. Yeah, he gonna end up right in the death chamber. Facts. That's why Charleston White got up there and told on his people. They don't play that Texas on some white folks. Yeah, all right.
injuries were so severe it was hard to tell where one wound ended and the next began. She passed out before the beating was over. When he was done, Nelson stole Clint's laptop, their cell phones, Judy's credit cards, and her car. He stepped over their bodies and drove away like nothing had happened. But it wasn't just another Thursday. Clint was dead, Judy was barely alive, and the church would never be the same. By lunchtime, people started to worry. Clint had planned to meet a church member, Dale Harwell, but never showed up. Calls went unanswered. By 12:40 p.m., another member, Deborah Jenkins, arrived at the church. Both Clint's and Judy's cars were still parked outside, but the building was unusually quiet. She rang the doorbell and called the office. No answer. Uneasy, she drove off, only to return 15 minutes later. This time, Judy's car was gone. Meanwhile, Clint's wife, Laura, was also panicking. Her calls went straight to voicemail. She reached out to Jake Turner, the church's part-time music minister. Jake then called Judy's husband, John. Without hesitation, John rushed to the church. When he entered, the office looked ransacked. Papers everywhere, furniture flipped, drawers pulled out. Then he saw a woman on the ground, covered in blood. At first, he didn't recognize her. Only when he noticed her clothes did he realize it was his wife, Judy. Police officer Jesse Parrish soon arrived. Inside, he found Clint lying face up behind his desk. His hands were tied and a plastic bag was over his head. Jesse pulled it off, but it was too late. Clint was gone. Amazingly, Judy was still alive. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital. Doctors didn't think she'd make it, but she fought through. After 2 weeks in the hospital and 5 months of therapy, Judy finally returned home, her body held together with screws and plates. Her memory of the attack stayed sharp, and she remembered who had done it. By then, Stephen Nelson was on the move. He sold Clint's laptop out of Judy's stolen car, used her credit cards at gas stations and malls, and even bragged to friends about robbing a pastor. Eventually, police caught him driving Judy's car, still in possession of the stolen items. Blood on his shoes matched both victims. During investigation, Nelson denied hurting anyone. At first, he admitted being at the church, but claimed he didn't do the killing. He told police he was just the lookout during a robbery, that others were involved, and that he didn't even know the building was a church. Nelson said 2 of his friends went inside first. According to his story, by the time he went in, Clint and Judy were already injured. He claimed all he did was grab a laptop and car keys, then left. He told investigators he had nothing to do with tying anyone up or putting a bag over Clint's head. But his version didn't add up. Police built their case piece by piece, and the evidence kept pointing straight at Nelson. His fingerprints were found inside the church, and part of his belt, ripped during the violent struggle, was left behind at the scene. Blood on his shoes later tested positive for both victims. Surveillance cameras caught him using Judy's stolen credit cards at gas stations and shopping malls within hours of the attack. And to top it off, his own friends testified that Nelson bragged about robbing a pastor and even laughed about it. The mountain of evidence completely crushed the story he tried to tell investigators. When Nelson took the stand at his trial in 2012, he doubled down. He told the jury he didn't kill anyone. He said he thought it was just a regular robbery, and claimed he didn't realize it was a church until he recognized Pastor Clint Dobson. He painted himself as someone who got in over his head, that he was only there to take a laptop, a car, and nothing more.
And they're going to take your life in exchange.
But jurors weren't buying it. Judy Elliott, the church secretary who survived the attack, pointed directly at him as the man who tied them up and beat them. She remembered everything clearly. On March 19, 2012, Nelson killed Jonathan Holden. Holden was a 31-year-old inmate at the Tarrant County Jail known to struggle with mental health issues. Witnesses said Stephen Nelson convinced Holden to fake a hanging so he would be transferred out of the unit. Instead, Nelson wrapped a torn jail blanket around Holden's neck, braced his feet against the bars, and pulled until Holden stopped breathing. Some inmates later said Holden had irritated others by muttering a racial slur shortly before the attack. What shocked everyone wasn't just the killing itself, it was what came after. Witnesses testified that Nelson laughed, broke into a little celebration dance, and even pretended to play air guitar with a broom over Holden's body.
Yeah, you're a real nut.
In court, Nelson never accepted responsibility. His defense suggested Holden might have taken his own life, but jurors heard detailed eyewitness accounts describing Nelson setting up the fake hanging and then strangling him to death. On October 8, 2012, the jury found him guilty of capital murder and attempted capital murder. Just 8 days later, they sentenced him to death. Right after hearing his fate, Nelson ripped apart a sprinkler system in the courtroom, flooding the place with black water.
How you manage that? Man, that just came out of nowhere. I didn't expect that. How you keep pull that off?
It was his last outburst before being shipped off to death row. To understand how Nelson ended up here, you have to look at his early life. Nelson was born in Ada, Oklahoma in 1987. He grew up in a violent and unstable home. His father was abusive, and his mother would disappear for days, leaving the kids to fend for themselves. From a young age, Nelson acted out. At age 3, he tried to set his mother's mattress on fire. At age 6, he was already stealing. By his early teens, he was breaking into homes and stealing cars. Judges sent him to juvenile lockups, but he never straightened out. By 2011, Nelson was already on probation for assaulting his girlfriend. That's when he walked into North Point Baptist Church and committed the crime that sealed his fate. Nelson spent the next 12 years on death row at the Palunsky unit in Texas.
12 years ain't no time on death row. That's like a rush. They did not play. Texas do not play. You could be on death row in California all day. But in Texas, Alabama, they gonna slay. They don't give a
He filed appeals at every level, state, federal, even the U.S. Supreme Court. But all of them failed. Nelson married a French woman named Helene Noah Dubois while he was in prison. He met Helene through a pen pal service in 2020, starting as friends and growing closer over shared life experiences. They married in 2023 through prison glass, no physical contact, but deeply meaningful, while Helene remained a steadfast presence, organizing support rallies and serving as a source of comfort and peace, and Nelson worried about how the execution would affect her, but ultimately honored her decision to be present or not. On February 5, 2025, Nelson's time ran out. Texas does not allow inmates to choose a special last meal, so he ate the same food as everyone else that day. As he was strapped to the gurney inside the Huntsville unit, his final words weren't for the victims' families, they were for his wife. He told her he loved her, that he wasn't afraid, that he was ready to go home. He even asked her to hug his dog for him. The warden gave the signal, and the lethal injection began. Nelson turned toward his wife behind the glass, whispered, "Let me go to sleep." And after a few gasps, his body went still. He was pronounced dead at 6:50 p.m., just 13 days before his 38th birthday. Judy Elliott survived the brutal church attack but sadly passed away in 2024, a year before Stephen Nelson's execution. When the day finally came in February 2025, it was her son, Bradley Elliott, who attended on behalf of his late mother. After witnessing the execution, Bradley gave a statement of grace and forgiveness. "I hope that today, as Mr. Nelson took his last breath, he was greeted by the same loving and gracious Savior that has stood by us through everything."
Man, if you don't get out of here with that bush, if you felt that way, you should have been there protesting his execution. Knock it off with that fake righteous bush.
Mr. Nelson, we forgive you, and we hope to see you when we are called home. But here's what stood out. Nelson's final words had nothing to do with the people he killed. He didn't ask for forgiveness, nor did he mention his victims. Instead, his focus was on the woman he married while on death row. So, what do you think? Was justice truly served in this case? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Damn, that's a fame beat.
I go by the name of G5 like this. We getting rich off beats.
No matter what you do in life, whether doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big brother doing life. No matter what you do in life, doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big homie doing life.
When you left, your second was so young. On the set, I stay checking on your son. He banging, hate it, but I can't trip. Front hood Compton, at least cuz playing crib. Solid, strong, feel like you still with me. You can ask him, I still keep that still with me. Can't control him, we'll try to guide him. Provide him with game, keep it real when you ride him. The money, violence, the thrill that inside him. Sound familiar? Yeah, a lot familiar inside him. It's in his genes to stay papered up. He be G, real clean and tapered up. Got him on what his granny and his mother need. Bleeding ride for him just like your other seed. Never dumb, you know I got a head on me. And I got cuz on the dead homies.
No matter what you do in life, whether doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big brother doing life. No matter what you do in life, doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big homie doing life.
Got him, told the big homie I had him. Love him but barely know him, I could only imagine. Probably 21 on him, whoop on him in Madden. Then roll up a fat one and show him what's happening. Teaching tactics to get it on his own too. Few tricks of the trade, you turned the nigga on too. My behind him in the club, he be on too. My word, one thing you can hold on to. Love you bro, just like B say. Me and Catman smoke big kush on your C-Day. He fit right in with the click on some G shit on daddy. That's who they finna find me with. Golden gloves, certified mid hands on the land. Knock out like hitmans, big bands. Young nigga got a head on him, and I got cuz on the dead homies.
No matter what you do in life, whether doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big brother doing life. No matter what you do in life, doing wrong or doing right, make sure you do it right. My big homie doing life.
They told me it was family only, but Craig was my nigga. That was my brother, bro. Hey, when I started my first club in Bakersfield, Craig said, Stacy P, I'ma give you the money. Make sure my name is on the flyer. And we did that. Craig Hunter, hey, bro, I love you. I love you, bro. I don't even want to, like, put you in the grave right now, man. But we gonna do this shit, though, on East Side! East Side, Mid-City Crib!
Yeah, neighborhood Nip Hustle. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. My nigga, Spot Low, y'all already know what it is. Sauce and air. Neighborhood Nip Hustle. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.